Welcome to this edition of Morgan Asked For podcast, 9 o'clock on Tuesday this week. One day early. Stuff going on tomorrow night. My daughter's last high school event before graduation. Choir concert tomorrow night. Should be back by 9 o'clock, but I don't know for sure. So tonight works a little bit better for Trev and I. So we're going a day early, but nothing wrong with that here. Several topics to hit tonight. Want to welcome Trev back in. And how you been, Trev?
Been pretty good. Glad to hear that you're going to your daughter's event there as her year is coming to an end. That's always, sports, whatever they're involved in, eventually it all comes to an end. It's kind of a happy and a sad moment, obviously, that we've all gone through. You as a parent, though, it's a little bit different. And then,
Right.
Just been traveling a lot. I'm in Santa Fe tonight. I'm going to be home back in Colorado tomorrow, finally, after about 2.5 weeks on the road. So I'm looking forward to getting back home for about a week or so.
A little Santa Fe, New Mexico from Zach Bryan.
Yeah. Maybe I should have that song playing. Yep. That's where I'm at tonight anyway.
No, that's good. Yeah. This week, last music concert on Wednesday. She will graduate. Not this weekend, next weekend, Memorial Saturday night at 7:30, Memorial Day weekend, and then grad parties the next day on Sunday, and then Memorial Day, and school's out and full go, and it's off to the real world. I'm planning on, just talked to her mom last night at Tyler's track meet, and they signed up for classes, so she is ready to go to Ankeny at DMAC and start semi-living in the real world. Not quite, but getting closer.
It's the baby steps into the real world is what it is.
Yeah, it's not full go yet, but it's a baby step. A little bit more on your own.
More responsibilities, but you kind of ease into it for a few years.
Yeah. All right, let's kind of get into, kind of our topics. Number one topic, and it is still weird for me to say this. Trev, do you remember how many years it has been since they've moved the PGA to May? But, I think the PGA Championship in August, right before football, but, a few years ago, 5 years ago, whatever it was, they did move it to May. So it is coming up. Outside of Philadelphia is the course. It has held stuff before. It's been a long time, but no majors recently at this course. Favorites, who looks good coming in, who you going to pick for our drafts. Now, you don't have to say that yet, but just a few thoughts on the PGA Championship.
Yeah, you're right. It still is weird having it here in May. It just throws you off a little bit. Yep. I knew it was coming this month, but then you forget about it for a few weeks, and all of a sudden it's here out of nowhere, unless you're really paying attention to golf on a weekly basis, which I'm not. I mean, there's times during the year I am, but it's kind of hit or miss. I remember the PGA being later in the year, and it's just, to me, everything's now, was it pre-COVID or after COVID when they made the change? That's how I describe everything nowadays.
I would almost say pre-COVID, because it didn't have anything to do with COVID. It was all about trying to get away from football. They wanted to do that FedEx playoffs in August and be done at East Lake their first part of August instead of first part or middle of September, because just football rules everything. We talk about it every day, and we'll talk about football right after this, even though we're still a long ways from the football season. But I would say it was pre-COVID, but I don't know that for sure. I should look it up.
Yeah, it still feels a little bit weird, but obviously we've got our pools that we're going to do. You've got one that's going. There's a few online that I'll probably get in. But, yeah, I mean, it's, looking at the odds, I don't know a lot about the course, obviously, but you've got Scotty and Rory. But if you're a betting person, obviously, if anybody wins besides Scotty or Rory, you can really get some good odds.
Yeah, the odds are, Scotty and Rory. Rory wasn't able to finish his practice round because of blisters today. Do you take that into account? I doubt it. I think you just go with it. But yeah, and then, just there's always news of this, the live and what's going to happen. I know I didn't see it, but it was on. I was at a golf tournament today up in Des Moines, and it was on in the background. The sound wasn't on. I need to listen to John Rahm's interview when he was talking about live and what's going to happen, what could happen. Dustin Johnson, what are all these guys going to do, and will live continue? And if it doesn't, how do they get back to the PGA Tour? Do they want to come back to the PGA Tour? What happens? And as of right now, none of us really know. I think they will be allowed back. It'll be similar to what Brooks had to do. But if I'm Brooks, I'm not real happy about that, because it should be, they gave you an opportunity. He took it. The others didn't. So a bigger fine, more time on probation, whatever it might be. Yeah, I don't know what you think about the return, but I just think it's going to be pretty stiff or almost nothing at all. Just let them back.
Yeah, make it a fine, donate to charity. We've talked about that before. Everybody gets on board with that type of stuff. As far as like sitting out, I'm kind of against that. The PGA Tour, they need these players back, as many as they can get for ratings. Brian Rolapp, the new CEO of the PGA Tour, we've talked about him before. He said, this whole live thing, it made the PGA Tour better in some ways. Competition always makes you get better. So there were some things that the PGA wasn't doing as well. Yeah, I mean, I can understand their frustration and also the players that stuck on the PGA Tour. But at this point, it's been so drawn out and been so long. Like, let's get the players back, the ones that want to come. I thought I saw something that Bryson said he might want to focus a little bit more on YouTube.
Yep.
But I didn't really read into that much. I just saw a headline. Obviously, he's got a massive following on YouTube. So each player is going to be a little bit different. But if I was Brian Rolapp, I would say, hey, guys, it's been a while. Let's just let them pay a fine. If they need to sit out a week or two, fine. But let's get these guys back on tour, and let's get the big names back each and every weekend that we can.
Yeah, I mean, and we've talked about him. He is essentially auditioning for the NFL commissioner job, so he needs to get this right. I think this will be very instrumental on him getting that job, on how he handles this and how it works. They've got to come. They need those players back on the tour. Now, how you get that is debatable, and I think that needs to be worked out with a lot of people involved. It's the current players, the players coming in, the players that left that came back in, like Brooks. And then I think just the relationship with sponsors, just so many stakeholders that do need a voice, but yet it does come to him and the PGA Tour with the final say.
Yeah, I mean, what you could do, I mean, all the players that want to come back, you could take a certain percentage of their winnings each week for a year or two.
Yeah.
And maybe give that to the other players that stuck around. I mean, you can figure out something. The point I would have is, if I was Brian Rolapp, let's get the guys back on the course as soon as possible. We'll figure out the fines as we go. We'll try to make it right to the players that stayed. Financially, we'll try to get them even as we can. But let's get the big names back on the course, because that's ultimately, in the long run, that's what's going to help the PGA Tour and the players make more money. Let's not be short-sighted on it. Let's get the big names back on the course.
Absolutely. You have to get, I mean, Dustin Johnson needs to get back. You got to have John Rahm, and you have to have Bryson DeChambeau. Really, you have to need those two. Dustin next. I think you need Cam Smith back. Now, he's kind of faded away just because I think some of it, he wants to fade away. I really believe that. He wants to go live in Australia and do that thing. And maybe some of the guys don't want to come back as much as we think they might. I don't know. Just go play the DP World Tour, and the PGA Tour might be second thoughts to them. I don't know.
Yeah, some of them made life-changing money, obviously. They were already rich to begin with, a lot of them, and then whatever money they got from Libs. So, yeah, there's probably going to be a few that just say, hey, we don't we don't need the PGA Tour. Life has changed, made a bunch of money, got a family going. Like you mentioned, Cam Smith may want to go back home and do whatever he wants to do in the different tours. So, but the guys that do want to come back, like you mentioned, Rahm and Dustin Johnson, Bryson, some of these other guys, just let's get them back as quick as possible. Let's figure it out as we go. I know that's not always ideal. You want to have a plan in place, but sometimes you just have to figure out stuff as you go. This feels like one of those situations. Like, let's get them back in playing.
Okay, let's kind of switch gears here, you could talk about LIV and that for a long, long time, but let's get to maybe your pick to win it and a sleeper pick, Trev.
Well,
the sleeper doesn't have to be like super sleeper. Like it could be, does Justin Rose get it? Just maybe not the favorite. I'm not saying you have to pick one from 50 down, but maybe not top 5. Of course, Rose probably is top 5 now.
I'll go Ricky as a sleeper at 50 to 1.
Okay. Yep. Okay.
He's been playing better. And then my pick to win, if you're not going Scotty or Rory, it's pretty tough. Cam Young's really come on though too. It feels like he's getting ready to strike. Rahm, I don't know about quite yet. Xander's always good in this. I might stay away from Bryson, though he might be due for a comeback. But another sleeper as far as odds go. Brooks Koepka at 40 to 1.
Right.
He's won 3 of these, I think.
Yeah, at least 2, probably 3. Yeah, he has 5. I do think he has 3 leads and 2 opens.
Yeah, so Brooks at 40 to 1 and Ricky at 50 to 1. I'd probably throw a little bet on both of those guys.
Yeah.
But I haven't been paying quite as much attention as maybe you or some others have. So if I really had to do a pick, I flip a coin, Scotty or Rory, right? Take your pick on that. I guess I'd probably go Scotty because Rory just won the Masters. So
that's my pick is Scotty. I just don't know how you not bet him or not pick him. You don't bet him because the odds aren't with you, but you pick him, and between him and Rory, Justin Rose probably will be there. He's been playing fantastic. Cam Young's probably going to be there 2-3 days. Can't really go wrong with anybody, but so you're going to kind of go Ricky and Scotty. I'm going to go Brooks and Scotty. I know you kind of brought him up. Brooks loves this championship, loves the way the PGA of America sets up these courses. And it's, your classic older Adirondack. I don't even know how to say this for sure, but it's kind of a weird, it's not Adirondack like the chair, but it's similar to that.
Yeah, it's a different course. I don't know much about it. I think I saw something that Keegan Bradley won a tournament there maybe years ago. Potentially, I think Gary Player won a major there many years ago, of course.
Right.
But I don't know much about the course, so I'm actually kind of looking forward to just watching the course that I really don't know nothing about.
Yeah, I agree. Got baseball this weekend and stuff, and graduation stuff, and so it's going to be craziness. But I'll have it on my phone and paying attention when I can. All right, let's transition to the NFL schedule release. And as we talked about, the NFL rules everything. It's a big deal, and they announce when their schedule comes out, and everybody is going nuts and trying to figure out, who's playing where and who's playing when and what the times will be, and just starting to set their fall schedule and how many streaming services you're going to have to. What was it last year? Wasn't it like 10 different things you needed last year to watch every NFL game?
I think you needed over $1,000 or something.
Yes.
Yeah.
It was, because you needed like 10 different things to watch, and just to have it for the NFL season was $1,000 to watch every game, which it's still crazy. The Cubs and Braves are on tonight, 2 of the best teams in baseball, on TBS, old school TBS baseball. I go to turn it on, blacked out. And then I don't have the patience to go look at where it was supposed to actually, where else it was on. So I didn't even try.
Yep, I'm the same way. If I can't find some of these sporting events quickly, I just check out.
Yeah.
It used to be pretty simple, 5, 8, 13, 17 when we grew up. You knew the channels, and now you got all these different streaming services. It's not just the NFL; it's all these sports now. So I kind of agree with you. I mean, there's been some of these NBA playoff games too that we might get into here in a little bit. But if I can't find them on a regular channel, it's just like I don't feel like going through the work. And unless I really want to watch like a game 7 or something, I just kind of check out. I think a lot of people do that.
Yeah, last night LeBron potentially last game was on Amazon Prime. We did turn into that a little bit. I fell asleep during it.
It was late.
And I didn't even. I had to look at this morning who won. So that's how interested I was in it.
Yeah, no, it's a little bit frustrating, especially for those of us that grew up with just simple channels and you knew where to find your teams and you knew where to find the games. But yeah, the NFL schedule release it's a big deal. They start leaking some stuff early, which I appreciate for 2 reasons. One, keeps them in the news, but 2, it's a lot to digest when they just release it all at once. So I kind of like the slow little drip that you get a game here or there each day that's announced. Obviously, the Seahawks are going to open the season on a Wednesday night this year, which is a little bit different than past years. And there's only about 4, unless something just happened in the last 30 minutes, there's only 4 teams that they can play on opening night. I think 2 are eliminated. The Cardinals, they're not going to put the Cardinals on opening night for obvious reasons.
Yep.
They're expected to be one of the worst teams. This next team, I think you can cross off because the last time they played, it was a boring game, and their coach is under a bunch of controversy. It's the Patriots.
Yep.
I don't think the NFL will do that. So it's either the Bears or the Chargers.
Okay.
And I think it's going to be the Bears. Most people are predicting the Bears will open the season on Wednesday night this year. A little bit different at Seattle.
Okay. The Bears at Seattle. Well, get it out of the way right away. It's a long trip. You don't want to make that trip during the season. I'm okay with that.
Yeah, and the Seahawks are a different team than they were when they won the Super Bowl. Lost the offensive coordinator, lost Kenneth Walker. They've lost some defensive players. Yeah, it's going to be a tough game for the Bears. Seattle's one of the tougher stadiums to play in. But if the Bears do go in there and pull they'll be a 3-point underdog probably or whatever on the road, whatever it'll be. They pull the slight upset. Right. The good news is you start off 1-0, you quote-unquote steal a game, and then you've got some extra time until week 2.
Absolutely, especially with playing on Wednesday night. It's kind of a lot of upside. And speaking of Seattle and traveling a long ways, the Hawkeyes have to travel, kind of speaking of schedules, this is college football, but the Hawkeyes have to go to Washington October 9th. Now, the worst part about that whole deal is, okay, it's Friday night. The Cyclones also play that night against BYU. So now it's kind of nice when one team plays Friday and one team plays Saturday. You don't have to waste your entire day. Now you're going to have 2 going on at once on Friday night, and then you get your entire Saturday off, which there's nothing wrong with that. And I believe they're going to try to do that Ryder Cup that next day. And they always try to – my friends and people that I really like and adore, and we talk 500 texts a day, that always try to do it during a Cyclone bye week or a Cyclone game and a Hawkeye bye week. And now this time it actually might be both of us playing on Friday night. So that might be the date.
Yeah, that's going to work out smoothly there. But yeah, that's a little bit different. I actually spoke to some customers. I'm thinking about going to that game.
Yeah, that's a heck of a – heck yeah. Get to that game. It'll be a good game and a good team if the Hawks are what we think they might be. Now it's the end of 3 tough games in a row. But yeah, that's a great, just like when you went to watch the Hawkeyes at the Rose Bowl, and then just take advantage of those situations.
Yeah, definitely. Would love to go out on the boat. They do the tailgating now. I saw a lot of Washington fans are a little bit disappointed because they wish it was on a Saturday.
Right.
Saturday, you get the all day boating and the tailgating out there. Whereas a Friday, people got to work or at least work half a day, right? So that does mix it up a little bit.
Yeah, because Iowa State, we played on. We beat Oklahoma State in 2011 when they were number 2. Kind of ruined the BCS. That was a Friday night. That's tough, unless you just take the whole day off. You rush up and school was done earlier than a lot of work. We rushed up right after me and a friend, Ron Howard, and watched the game. But you don't spend, we have the camper up there, and we'll do a full tailgate on almost every Saturday, and you can't. I personally don't do that on a Friday just because we have school, and I try not to take that day off and get up there and then some people just don't have the option to get up there early, and so you just try to get it to the game to 7:30, whatever it might start. And you just don't get the all day experience. Even, yes, I know Saturdays sometimes the game's at 11 o'clock, but sometimes that's even better. You get up, you go to the game, and then you have one heck of a party afterwards.
Yeah, it's definitely nice. You get up early, you get the game done. There in Iowa, you're done about 2 o'clock, give or take.
Yep. And
then you've got the rest of the day to go tailgate, go hang out with friends, watch the big afternoon games,
Yep.
The night games, of course, wherever they might be. So, this ever-changing landscape with the TV deals, the streaming networks, it's not only affecting NFL but college. So, and NBA and NHL, like we talked about. So it's affecting all of it. A few other games that have been announced. Wednesday night again, Seahawks are probably going to host the Bears, I think, which most people do. That'll be the first game of the season. Then the next night, Rams Niners from Australia.
Yes.
And that'll be a 10 a.m. kickoff in Australia and whatever time here. I don't know the math on that. But,
that's way too much math. They're going to try to do it in the evening here. I mean, it's got to be It's got to be 8 o'clock Eastern or whatever it is.
Yep, and then you've got Cowboys at Giants for Sunday night game, which they do that game like every other year, just about. It feels like Cowboys at Giants on an opening Monday or Sunday night game. I am kind of interested this year, though. The Cowboys have a high-powered offense. We'll see if their defense is better with Caleb Downs and their draft picks. The Giants obviously bring in Harbaugh, the coach. Jackson Dart looks really good at times last year. He's just got to stay out of the blue tent. So I kind of don't mind that game. I know some people are a little bit upset about it, but I think that should be a good week one matchup. Again, it's Cowboys-Giants, so it's going to get a big rating.
Right. Yeah, the Cowboys, they're America's team, and I know people don't like that, but they still are a draw. They still get big numbers, especially early in the year where there's hope springs eternal for all 30 teams. And, it's just it's the beginning of the season. NFL, all they want is people to tune in, and they will, because they've been starved for football for, I wouldn't say 9 months, but it's really like 6 months now. It's good. You used to think, football is you're done in December, maybe January, and then you start in September. Well, now it goes to the middle of February, and it starts at the end of August.
It's really only a couple months, because when you factor in the draft and all these other things, that these schedule releases, I know games aren't being played, but it's just constantly in the news. So it's really like, June and July. And then once August starts, high school starts up, high school football, and then of course September. But football's not out of the realm for very long. And then the first Monday night game is going to be Broncos at Chiefs, which will be an interesting one. Sounds like Mahomes is progressing pretty positively from what I've heard. Bo Nix, though, there's a little bit of concern. He had another procedure on his ankle or his leg. Some pictures are going viral of his leg. It doesn't look very good. So that's why I was joking with Zach earlier, that text that I sent a few hours ago. But that should be a good one. I think both quarterbacks will probably be ready to go. But to me, it's I don't know. It's like when your parents leave the house for a weekend and the kids throw a party, right? The Chiefs were down for a season. The parents are coming home, and party time is over. So the AFC had about a 1-year window here where it was open. The Patriots took advantage. The Broncos obviously could have come close in the Bills, but the parents are close to coming home, and meaning the Chiefs are it'll probably take Mahomes a month or two to get comfortable with his new leg and all that type of stuff. But when you have an all-time great quarterback and coach and a really good, well-run franchise, I don't see the Chiefs being down for very long.
No, I don't either. Unless there's some setback this summer, I expect him to be ready for game one, especially with that big game conference or, AFC West matchup Monday night. He's not going to miss that unless he just really cannot go.
Yeah, I think he'll be ready to rock and roll. The Broncos, I think, are due for a little bit of a regression just because they won so many close games last year. A team I'm really interested in that I don't say this very often, I think they've done some good things, is the Bengals. But again, it comes back to, can Joe Burrow stay healthy, right?
Yeah.
That's really what it comes down to. Their offense is going to be elite if he's healthy. Their defense, they add Dexter Lawrence, they add some free agents, some draft picks that I didn't mind. I think you can get the Bengals at 9-1 to win the AFC. I don't mind that bet right now. I think they've got one of the easiest schedules, speaking of schedule release, upcoming. Now, the thing with schedule release, though, too, is some teams you think are going to be bad are better than we expect. Some teams that we think are going to be good aren't as good. There's injuries or just, for whatever reason, they drop off a cliff. So the schedule release, really, it's who's week one opponent, where's your bye week, where are your primetime games at, are you playing in Denver or Miami early? Because Denver's got the altitude, Miami's got the heat. And then, of course, the flip side, late in the season, are you playing in Denver, Buffalo, Chicago, Green Bay? Could be cold and snowy. So, to me, that's kind of the fun of the schedule release. And then, of course, for the season ticket holders, they get to keep the schedule of the games. And then you got people that maybe take one trip a year to go to a game. Now with Vegas being involved, a lot of people want to take a trip to Vegas. So it's a lot of fun, but is it overblown? Yes. But is it fun? Yes.
Yeah, that's the biggest thing, and that's what's coming with football and basketball. It's the season. You think about the season ticket holders to the 49ers, or, they're going to play in Australia. You're not going to Australia unless time and money really aren't a problem, which for some people that is great. They can do it and great for them. Go enjoy Australia and go enjoy the game. But your everyday, just regular season ticket holder, that's another game they don't have. Now, I don't know how it works with, usually you're paying for 10 home games because it's a 20-game set that you're buying. You're paying for the preseason game just as much as you are for the final game of the regular season. So is it only 9 games you're paying for? I don't think so. I know at Iowa State, most years we have 7, but there's every once in a while it's 6. Our price doesn't change. It's the same every year. So you're paying for 7 every year. When you had those games in Arrowhead against Kansas State for those 2-year things, it was just part of it. And you had to go buy those games separately, but you still, the price of the other games just went up a little bit. And then I feel really bad for like basketball because, Hawkeye season ticket holders, it was just announced this week or maybe at the end of last week. I might even have said this, but Iowa's going to play Creighton in Des Moines. I don't know if that was supposed to be a home game. I don't know if that was supposed to be a Creighton home game, but if that's supposed to be one of your games at Carver Hawkeye, and say you live in the Quad Cities, well, that doesn't help your cause to go to Des Moines and play. And it's not so, it's becoming more and more frequent for bigger games like that to be in neutral sites because they don't want to commit to more than 1 year of playing that game because it's all about money and NIL. They're going to find a way to pay players out of that, and it's just a 1-year deal, and it's getting to be more that players era tournament that Iowa State's been in the last couple of years. Is Iowa State's going back there again, and there's a potential for 4 games, so that's 4 road games or 4 games that you could have seen them play in Iowa State. Now, the argument is at least you're playing good teams and you're not playing Wisconsin, Eastern Middle Shore University. But also you're not seeing them in Hilton Coliseum or Carver Hawkeye or Pinnacle Arena in Nebraska or wherever your stadium is. You're not getting to watch them as a home game.
Yeah, NFL, college, you're losing some of those home games depending on the schedule. The NFL, obviously, right now it's 17. There's every other year you're getting 9 home games or 8 away or vice versa.
Yep.
I think we spoke about before. They're going to go to 18, and then everybody will play in an international game, 2 bye weeks. I think within 10 years it'll be 2 international games, 8 and 8 plus 2. But that's further down the line. Then college. I mean, same things happen there. A lot of neutral site games in college football, basketball, and maybe some other sports. But those are really the 2 that we focus on. I mean, Notre Dame, they're having a tough time scheduling opponents because, and I don't blame like USC. They're getting a lot of heat. USC doesn't need Notre Dame.
Not now. They did when they were in the Pac-12, but they don't need them now.
No, they don't need them, and maybe this puts some pressure on Notre Dame to join the conference here eventually, full-time joining conference, because they're kind of half in, half out with the ACC with some stuff. Yeah,
they're and that's honestly right now that's saving Notre Dame. If the ACC would just say no to that, because right now they can, as of today, Clemson, Miami, Florida State, and then North Carolina. There's another team here or there in and out that's usually decent, and you play those teams, you're going to get 2 or 3 ranked teams there, especially right now with Miami being really, really good. Clemson has been really good. I do think Clemson will bounce back maybe a little bit. Florida State's still in flux, but if those 3 teams ever get back to being top 15 programs and then Notre Dame, and you're not going to play all 3 of those every year because they don't play an entire ACC schedule. But if you could get 2 of those every year on the schedule, maybe you can survive not having the USC. But I understand what USC is doing there, but Notre Dame has played Big Ten schools forever. They play Purdue, they play Michigan, they play Michigan State, they played Ohio. They've played Big Ten schools and frequently. They don't, not like a USC. They haven't played Michigan 100 years in a row or whatever it's been, but they play Michigan on a semi-regular basis.
Yeah, they do. It's just it's putting Notre Dame in a tough spot, which I kind of like. I don't mind Notre Dame, actually. I mean, if you remember before the playoffs started last year, I was one of those that I remember saying on here, I was like, Miami should get in over Notre Dame, but I think Notre Dame is better. Well, heck, Miami was 1 drive away from winning the national titles. So Miami proved their worth, and we're going to get into the expanded playoff here in a little bit. But it's putting some pressure on Notre Dame, and maybe Notre Dame is going to have to join a conference here at some point. I mean, it might come down to that. These big, at least the Big Ten and the SEC, they can just push Notre Dame to the side. We don't need you right now. We've got enough big games in the schedule.
They do, but if Notre Dame ever says, hey, we are open to go into a conference, both those conferences are going to jump through any hoop possible to get them in their conference.
Yeah, that's the point. Force them to join the conference, but you don't have to play them. You can freeze them out until they join you. And
it's got to be the Big Ten. I just think the next step, and this is, I don't know when this will happen, and it may not officially happen, but I think maybe what will happen is they're just going to treat the money so differently that it doesn't really matter. But if I'm Ohio State, if I'm Michigan, or if I'm Notre Dame and I finally join the Big Ten, I'm sitting around like, why are we paying Rutgers $100 million? This is stupid.
That's what broke the Pac-12 up.
Yeah.
Because USC was paying all these other schools the same amount of money, and USC was bringing in all the money. So it was the same thing that broke the Pac-12 up.
Yeah, and that's the next step. And now Vanderbilt has changed it a little bit, but the SEC the same way. Why are we paying Vanderbilt the same amount of money as Alabama? It's dumb. And then you start getting to the SEC, and you're like, why are we paying Ole Miss and Mississippi State the same? South Carolina, Kentucky. You can list some pretty decent schools, but if I'm Georgia, Alabama, and A&M, and Texas, like, why are these schools with us?
Depends how much money they got too. Vanderbilt's got money, I think.
I do too. And that's, we're finding out who has money that we're quote unquote doing it the right way. Vanderbilt weren't paying people illegally. Now they can pay people. They have money. Indiana was probably doing it legally, not paying players, but they have money. And now they're okay. So now it's legal to pay people. We'll do it. And all the people that were paying players, SEC, some in the Big Ten. Now there's some, Texas, Oklahoma were paying players too. They were in the Big 12 or Southwest Conference. I mean, heck, the Southwest Conference dissolved because they were all cheating. The whole conference was cheating, and somehow SMU got the worst of it. I don't know how that happened, but those schools have been paying people forever, but a Vanderbilt, Indiana probably weren't, or at least doing it as legal as you can. No one is completely not cheating at all, but even the Hawkeyes cheat, and they get in trouble now. They cheated to get their quarterback that couldn't even play. So, it's a crazy deal, but you're finding out some teams that have money that no one knew had money. Miami still has money. They've had money forever. They were paying players in the 80s, just like everybody else was, and they are continuing to play players. But I think you're finding out maybe an Alabama doesn't have the money that other people do. And I think that's why Saban isn't coaching anymore, and maybe a little bit why they've struggled. And I think some of it is just the coaching culture is just so different than Saban, and he's not from the South. And not to say it's not going to work out for him or whatever, but it's just been a little awkward these last few years with other schools just having open pocketbooks, and maybe Alabama doesn't have the most open pocketbook anymore as they were. They were just really good at casino chips and McDonald's bags.
That they strived in that. Plus, they had the best coach probably of all time.
Oh yeah.
That changed things. But Alabama. Everything I've heard, Alabama does not quite have the money that people think that they do. Now they have all the facilities, the stadium, because that's been built over time. Right. But they don't have the money necessarily that Texas does. Texas A&M, maybe Vanderbilt, like we mentioned, Indiana. There's going to be, I think, over the next 5 to 10 years, or however long, until all this stuff gets sorted out. I think there's going to be a surprise team every couple of years that just pops out of nowhere, that gets a bunch of donations or a bunch of money, or whoever decides to dip into the however they're going to do it. So Ohio State's always going to be fine, and Oklahoma's always going to be a powerhouse, and all these type of things. But I think every couple of years there's going to be a team like a Vanderbilt and Indiana or somebody that kind of sneaks through and is competitive at least.
Well, and you're finding in the Big 12, you got BYU and Texas Tech that have money, and they were probably doing it mostly legal, but now open up the pocketbooks. The Mormon Church is one of the richest entities in the world, kind of like the Catholic Church. Churches are wealthy. I don't know how they got all their money. I don't know what they did, but the Catholic Church and the Mormon Church, two of the wealthiest entities in the world. And I don't think the Catholic Church spends so much on football like Notre Dame and stuff. I'm sure they help a little bit, but the Mormon Church does help football, and there's a lot of Mormons that own companies and invented things and have decided to help their football and basketball team, and they've been pretty good in these last few years with the rev share.
Yeah, and BYU historically is a really good program just in general.
But they're upping it a notch.
Yeah,
and that's the difference. Like, Indiana is a blue blood of all blue bloods in basketball. They're now in the last 20 years, not so much, but from the 1970s to the 1990s, they were right there with North Carolina and Kansas, and even had more titles than them. They just weren't able to, after, Bob Knight that situation, everything. They just weren't able to sustain it. Couldn't find the right coach to get them back to where they want to be, where they expect to be, like, Kansas, North Carolina, Duke, that has been able to, win championships in the 80s, win championships in the 90s, win championships in the 2000s. But we'll see if they can get back there. And, at Indiana, obviously we have a local connection with DeVries, a former, Creighton assistant and Drake head coach and Iowan. So we'll see if he can turn that around. But his leash is pretty short, I would say. He can maybe survive this year. He's got to do better. But if he does worse than last year, he may not survive another year. He's got to get better, if not go all the way, well into the tournament to come back again next year.
Colleges, with all the money they're investing, they're not waiting around very long. You don't get 4 to 5 years. No, you get about 2 years now to kind of prove that you're making improvements, you're getting the right recruits in. And we spoke about this when we first got started, but we think it's going to go there. Nothing's official yet, but this is probably going toward a 2014 playoff for college football. And the only thing I'll say on this, there's a lot of people freaking out about it. The one thing I will say is 5, 10, 12 years ago when Saban was running the SEC and that era, each year there was only 2 or 3 teams, maybe 4 at max, that could win the Natty. In my opinion, right now, I'd say there's about 7 or 8 that probably could, give or take. Now, 7 or 8 doesn't mean we should be at 24, but I am willing to see how 24 plays out for a few years before I say it's too much. Is it probably too much? That's my guess, yes. 12 or 14 is probably the number, but I'm willing to give a little bit of time because of NIL. We spoke about Indiana, Vanderbilt. Let's see how it plays out. 24 probably is too much, but there is a little bit more parity now, though. I think that can't be denied.
Yeah, if you get to 24 and let's just say you stay there for 5 years. This is a problem with the playoff. So they went to 4, then they went to 12, they went to 12, which is a weird number period, but they haven't stayed at anything very long. So they don't really know how it works. And I agree. A few years ago, 3 teams, maybe 5 could win it. Now there's, like you said, I agree, 6 or 7 teams. If you went for 5 straight years with the 2014 playoff and you knew you had a chance, if essentially you're in the top 25, you had a chance.
Mm-hmm.
Would there be 12 teams that could win it? I think so. Because, with the top 25, if you're the Iowa Hawkeyes, you should expect to be in the playoffs most years because you're a top 25 program. And once you get in, you got a shot. That's all you can ask for. Now, you may not have a good shot, but, if you go as a true 2014 playoff and you just rank them, your top 10 teams have a pretty good advantage. And, even your top 12, you could do, I don't know how they would do the buys and everything, but you could set up some advantages for those top 10 teams to really have 10 to 12 teams to have an advantage to get to the quarters. Then once you get to the quarters, one upset or a team upsets them, and then all of a sudden you're in the semis and maybe you're playing a lower seed, just like, and this is for sure 76-team basketball playoff. Teams like Iowa and Iowa State, it is an expectation to be in the tournament every year with that expansion. It's not okay to not make the tournament now. And so
absolutely with that.
So with that being said, when you're in the tournament, you got a shot. And so, right now in college basketball, when it really comes down to the end of the season, there's like 5 teams that can win it. But at the start of every season, there's 12 to 15 teams that think they can win it. Injuries happen, situations happen that remove some of those teams by the time the tournament actually starts. But at the beginning of the season, there's 10 to 15 teams that think they can win it all. I truly believe that in basketball. Like Iowa State had a chance
to can get it done every year. Yeah. And as you mentioned too, something that got me thinking a little bit, if they expand to 24 in college football, and you said the Hawkeyes should probably make it every year or maybe every other year. Also, what it does though too, if teams like Iowa or whoever that are on that 15 to 25 range, typically a lot of years, if they win some games in the playoffs, your recruiting should hopefully go up.
Yeah.
So it could just the disparity NIL, it could make for a more balanced playoff with 24 teams. Now there's going to be some big upsets if you're inviting the smaller guys. If you give them a couple seats at the table. But no, that was an interesting thought there too, because it could spread it out even more. I mean, we're seeing it like you just said when you first got started. It used to be 3 or 4 teams, and that was it. I mean, you knew it was Bama, Georgia,
Ohio State,
Clemson, or Ohio State, but now you got some Notre Dames in there, Oregon's, Indiana's, whoever else might come through. So Texas, this expanded playoff, I'm not ready to write it off yet. People are freaking out. I get it. I do understand why, but let's see how it plays out for 4 or 5 years if it actually goes that long, right?
Yeah. So the 12 teams is weird. That's just a weird number for a playoff. I do agree with that. So I would like to see it go to 16 and then truly seed it 1 through 16. No buys. 1 through 16. You're given one heck of advantage. You're going to get you should get a blowout 1 versus 16 at number 1's place. I agree with that, but that's the advantage of getting the number 1 seed. That's going to be a 25-point spread, and is what it is, and that's okay if that's what you want. And you have to be okay with that. And then you get to that next round where now you're playing the 8 seed. Now we've had 8 seeds beat the 1 seed already. So, those teams that have had the buys and the top seeds have not had success yet. But now I do think, that second round, if it's at home again and you're the number 1 seed, everybody played last round. Now you're playing again. You're still at home. Should have a really good advantage against number 8. Now, when you get to the next one, that's when they're going to still try to go to some bowl game or somewhere and play it. That's where but everybody's on the same. They're playing their 3rd game. That's where it's equal. You have to play the same number of games, I think, in the playoffs for football.
Yeah, I don't mind giving maybe the top 2 or 4 a bye, but I'm not going to, I understand both sides. So I'm not really set in my ways on either one of those either. But, Nick Wright has always said this about NBA playoffs in particular, but it could be a factor here. If you're the number 1 seed in the 2014 playoff, you get to pick your opponent. And if you're the number 2 seed, then you get the next pick.
And so you don't even have to pick.
It creates controversy and rivalries because they picked us. They think they're going to beat us. It creates some drama in a way.
Yeah, so essentially you pick the playoff teams and then there's a draft. Really is what you're saying. And so you don't even have to pick per se. Let's just say there's 16 teams. You don't even if you're number 1 Ohio State, you don't have to pick number 16. Let's just say it's James Madison again. You don't have to pick James Madison. You could pick if you think Duke is the worst team that got in. You could pick Duke, or you have a really good matchup, or their quarterback got hurt in the play in the game before the playoff, and he's not going to play. So yes, they earned to get into that playoff, but they don't have the same team. Something to that effect.
Or maybe if you're Ohio State, you could number 4 ranked Texas. You could pick them and say, "Hey, let's just knock them out right away.
Let's just go at it right now, boys." I don't think that's going to happen.
No,
I'll be honest with that. But how awesome would that be? Let's just go 1 versus 2 right here. Let's figure it out right now.
It'd be drama. I kind of do like it though for the NBA. I think it would make the playoffs a little bit more interesting. I think Nick is onto something there with his idea where you pick who you play and then you just go from there. It would create some more drama for the NBA playoffs, which they need a little bit more of that. The playoffs is when everybody starts watching, right? That's getting a little bit sidetracked. But yeah, going back to college football, I don't know. I mean, We know it's going to go to 24, though. I think you and I are both confident that's going to happen. Now, the results of that happening, time will tell.
Right. Yeah, it's just the answer to every question, and we've talked about this, is money. There's money being left on the table by not having as big a playoff. I think the biggest issue, especially with college sports right now and college football, is the timeline, is the calendar. Nobody wants it to. I think the end of this year's playoff is like January 20th. That's too late. The end of college football, and I understand. Well, January 1st was always, well, we don't have to stay to that standard. I agree. You can change. It's okay. But these still are 18 to 22-year-olds, and they are trying to get back closer to that right now. It's 18 to 25-year-olds playing. But with, I think, the new thing of 5 to play 5, they're trying to limit the 25-year-olds. They want to get it back to 18 to 22, maybe 23 if you do get a red shirt. This still is, I mean, it is professional sports, but it's not pro football. They're getting paid, but it's not pro football. You don't have to play 17 games. You don't, when you're 18 years old, you're not maybe built for that yet. That's why the NFL doesn't want those players in the league. And that's the only issue I have is if you're going to keep expanding the playoff, then I think almost you need to cut back the championship games and maybe even cut back to 11 regular season games and start that playoff first weekend in December and go, at the very, very latest, around the 10th of January, maybe have the semifinal New Year's Day, and then a week later, just the way the calendar, if New Year's Day is on a Thursday, I understand they want their championship game on Monday, so it's 10 days from then, so it'd be January 10th. I understand that, but if January 1st happens to be a Monday, then it's January 8th or whatever, just a week later. So
I agree with you. I think within the first 10 days, give or take, of January is when the season should end. Some years it might be a day or two difference, like you mentioned, but somewhere in that time frame, getting away from conference championships, and then maybe going to 11 regular season games and really, I mean, you could do 9 conference games, you get 1 cupcake, and then you get 1 you pick them, like Iowa State play each other, whatever type of game, but you get your 1 Northeast Missouri State or whoever it is, right? Ball State, all these teams there, but it gets Citadel for like Alabama. You get 1 of those, and you get your
Mercer. Mercer's another one that's always playing someone down there.
And then you end after Thanksgiving, and then you start the playoffs soon in December, and then of course in early January.
Yep, that's my only thing is because they don't need 3 weeks off. They are used to playing weekly, and right now what's happening is you play December 5th in the conference championship game, and everybody then the next weekend is Army Navy, so that's let's just say the 12th of December. Then the playoff starts the 19th and 20th, which has been the last couple of years, and then those teams that got the bye, they don't play till the 27th, 28th. So they're not playing. They're playing for 3 weeks, but yet they're having to play till January 20th. So it's not going to affect the number of games so much. It's just not. You just got to play during December instead of January. That's the difference. And I know some of them are worried about the weather in their places. Well, all these places are super nice and super fancy. And if they know they are going to be hosting playoff games, those teams have the resources to make their stadiums better for cold. Lambeau Field has done a heck of a job to make it okay to play in really cold weather because they want to and expect to host games in January. A team like Ohio State and a team like Michigan will expect to play in these playoff games, and they will spend what it takes to have their field, their stadium, okay to play on December 25th or whatever day it might be, a playoff game. If that's the expectation and that's what's going to be expected of them, they will do it. Iowa State would do the same thing. Iowa will do it. If you're a team that's going to be expected to play, then you're just going to have to do it.
It's part of the influx of money that's coming in.
Yep,
you're going to have to make some changes and adapt to the new schedule. And I agree with you. The 3 weeks off, whatever it is, it's too much. NFL guys don't even go through 3 weeks off. It's too much. It's too much of a delay. And let's get the games going right away. As you mentioned, a lot of these teams, especially the northern teams, of course, in the cold weather, they're going to have to make some updates. Well, guess what? You got these TV packages.
Yeah, the Big Ten just made $1.37 billion. You can spend $1 million to upgrade your stadium a little bit.
Yeah, that's part of doing business. If you want the money to keep coming in, you got to put some money back into what's providing the money that's coming into you. So, no, I totally agree. I don't mind the 24. We'll see how it goes, but I'm in total agreement. We've got to get the playoffs started early December. We can't be going into late January and February with this stuff with college. It's just too long. It just, past couple of years tried to give it a chance, but it really just doesn't work. I think everybody's in agreement with that, though.
Right, and the NFL playoffs take over. It's reality. This country is NFL crazy, and the sooner you can get done and get out of their way. I understand you're the second sport above most else. And then also, the further you keep going, basketball does matter. And basketball does, I always, November and December basketball, besides like the Iowa State game, or Iowa State plays, if they play a North Carolina or a Duke or one of the big guys somewhere, you pay attention. But when they're playing all these teams from who knows where, SWAC, Jackson State, Grambling State, you turn it on, you watch it, but it's not that big a deal. But January 12th, when Kansas comes to town, you're tuned in on that. You're not worried about the college football playoff unless your team's in it. Now, be the first to admit, Iowa State's Kansas comes to town, comes to Hilton Coliseum on January 12th, and the Cyclones are playing in Dallas against Texas January 13th, the day after. Kansas, Iowa State's taking a back seat. We're all in on the football. I mean, so I'm being a little bit of a hypocrite there, but overall, a lot of people have tuned to basketball in January.
Yeah, it's when that sport really starts to ramp up, and then, like you mentioned, February, and then of course March. We know what happens in March and April. So, I just think it's smart for college football. We've talked about this too with the changing landscape. There's a lot of things we're in favor for. There's a lot of things we're not. There's no guardrails. Seems like there's starting to be some guardrails slowly being put into place. We'll see over the next few years how that turns out. But we got to get the college football playoffs started early December. Probably get rid of conference championships, as you mentioned. Maybe take a game off the regular season, especially if we're going to 24, with that being said. And then, and within the first 10 days, give or take, of January.
Yep, and then kind of last here, we're approaching an hour here. I do want to touch the college basketball March Madness tournament is going to 76, and this is a done deal. This has been approved, and this is all about. It's not even about money. It's about the ADs and coaches wanting more teams in the playoffs to help not have to fire their coach. That's what this is about. It's, from what I've been told, it's not very much more it's not very much more money, or if more money at all right now, because it's just built into the current contract. It's going to cost a little bit more money because now you're going to have 12 games on Tuesday or Wednesday, whatever days it might be. I mean, you think about some of these, 8 more teams are going to have to go from potentially playing on a Saturday or a Sunday in the conference tournament, and they're going to have to get, let's just say it's in Las Vegas and Dayton. So they're going to have to fly to Las Vegas or Dayton and play on a Tuesday. Then they're going to have to get on another plane and go fly to wherever they're going after that. So they're not even going to be going home. And the amount of, they're going to have to rent another arena. They're going to have to pay for everything that entails. You got to get all the teams there, got to get hotels. Then you've got to get them wherever they're going on Thursday or Friday, whenever they're playing. There still is a lot of expense associated with hosting that NCAA tournament. They make lots and lots of money, but there is really good expenses, and that's a lot. Let's just use Iowa State as an example. They were an 8 seed in the Big 12 tournament. Didn't have a great season, just very mediocre. Made a run to the conference final Saturday, but lost. So they don't get that automatic seed. They're on the bubble. They get in one of those first 12 games. That's the difference. Instead of 4 games, now there's going to be 12. So let's just say it's in Vegas. They got to fly to Vegas on Sunday once they find out where they're going. So they did get back to Ames because it's in Kansas City. They lose Saturday. They get back up to Ames. Fly out, I would assume Monday morning, early, to Vegas. Play Tuesday night. Now let's just say they get shipped to the West. So let's just say they got to go play in Seattle on Thursday. That's not good on your body for them to potentially have a good run in the NCAA tournament. I don't care. I understand these guys are peak athletes, great shape. They have everything catered to make them great. Best nutrition, best strength, best rest, recovery, nutrition. They've got it all. I understand that. That's still not easy on your body. And now you're expected to perform at your best and try to win 2 NCAA tournament games on Thursday and Saturday, fly home. And then maybe you got to go back to San Jose if you make the Sweet 16 because you're out west. That's a lot. And Iowa State's in the middle of the country. Let's just say you're Villanova and doing that.
It's a good point. Like you mentioned, these coaches are on an even shorter seat in college. Yeah. I mean, look what Kurt Sinetti's done at Indiana. Yeah. I know
he has ruined it for everybody. He has ruined it for everybody. Any coach that gets fired in 2 years because he didn't win enough should call Kirk Sinetti every name in the book.
Yeah, so like you mentioned, it is because these universities, the coaching contracts over the years have gotten so big. If you have to fire a guy for 2 years, I mean, that's a massive payout. And then you have to go hire another guy and, all the money that involves. So, yeah, that's a good point. And then, of course, the scheduling, like you just mentioned, if, Iowa State, for example, if they go on a little bit of a run in the Big 12 tournament and they have to go to Vegas or Portland or Seattle, I mean, the days get crunched and it's a lot. But, yeah, the NCAA tournament, I've kind of grown numb to it just because I keep thinking they're going to keep expanding, which they are. Hopefully this is it, but I'm not going to sit here and say, yeah, this is the final draw. Like, who knows what this is going to expand to? And you and I have been on this for years since we first started doing this. March Madness, it's probably the most fun tournament that we can watch, but there's too many teams that are invited. There's no doubt about that.
Right. Oh, absolutely. And it's only getting worse. And everybody's like, well, this is great. Maybe the Missouri Valley, a team that goes 30-2 on the season, but loses in their championship game, doesn't get in the tournament. Now they'll get in. Well, probably, but don't kid yourself. This is about teams that are 500 and they're 6-10 in the Big 12 conference or 6-10 in the Big 10 conference. Those are the teams this is all about. They want to get a team like Auburn this year into that tournament because they believe, and I don't think they're necessarily wrong here, you get that team in the tournament and they win one game and they kind of get on a run. That's a team that can make a run because they're funded immensely and they have good players. For some reason, it didn't work during the regular season, but it can work in a tournament setting and win 2 or 3 games and get to a Sweet 16 or Elite 8, even though they were an 11 or 12 seed and barely got in the tournament. They have the talent and maybe the guys, and if they just get on a roll, they could win some games. That team that's 30-2 doesn't have that same talent. They're a better team, but they haven't shown it against that competition. That's the argument. I do think a 30-2 team would be very, very hard to keep out of the tournament now. With it being 76, I do think that team needs to get in every single time. But I'm not going to hold my breath and say I guarantee it, because that 500 team in the SEC or Big 12 or Big 10 or ACC is going to make one heck of a push to get in, and that's what the coaches and the ADs want.
Yeah, they'll throw a team like that, a 30-2. They'll throw them a bone, but all the other spots are going to go to those 500 teams that you mentioned.
It's not going to be a 32-8 team from the Missouri Valley that's getting in. That lost lost 4 games non-conference or 5 games in non-conference, only lost a couple games in the conference. They're not getting in. You're going to have about 3 or 4, 5 losses at most on the entire season to even have a chance. And I'm not even going to guarantee a 30-5 team like Drake, if they don't get in because of the tournament, would get in the tournament.
You're going to have a pretty spotless record. Like I said, they'll throw a team a bone here and there, but all the other spots are going to go to those 500 teams in the big conferences.
I just – it's good. It's going to be for some more games. And then the other thing that I don't like about it, and I don't like it right now, and I don't like it in the future, is all the 16 teams, seeded teams, are going to play on that Tuesday or Wednesday. Those teams need to be in. All these before the tournament games need to be between the big conferences or the at-large bids. Teams that get in automatically need to be in on Thursday and Friday. That's another argument I have for this thing. Now, however, some of these teams are going to say, well, wait a minute, because if I win a game on Tuesday as a 16 seed against a 16 seed, I get a unit. And that's how the NCAA tournament pays out, our unit. So they're getting a chance to get a unit, and now the 16 seeds will get 2 units in this situation. So that team gets a unit. Now they go play the 1 seed instead of just losing that first game and getting the 0 units or the 1 unit instead of 2 units. So a little bit of a controversy there, because the more games you play, the more, and then that's the same thing. Right now, 8 teams out of the Big 12 get in the tournament. Well, all of a sudden now you have 10 teams. Well, that's a couple more units guaranteed, even if they lose that first round. That's just more money.
Have to be like David Ramsey playing Pink Floyd, the song "Money" on here.
Yeah. That we do. That needs to be like our opening, closing.
That's his. So I don't know if we can steal that, but yeah, that's what it all comes down to. But yeah, I agree with you. The 16 seeds, that's a whole nother wrench that gets thrown into this thing. But you understand, like you said, they're going to make more money with extra games potentially. So all this is a work in progress. I mean, I don't think anybody has the exact answers, and it's going to take a while. I mean, I think in 2 or 3 years we're going to think we have it figured out pretty well, and then 5 or 10 years after that, we're going to realize, man, what a mess it still was. So it's going to be a constant work in progress, I believe.
Yeah, I agree. All right, Trev, anything else? We're a little over an hour. You were off last week, so it's good to get back and talking. Kind of some, obviously with the PGA being very current, the NFL schedule being very current. Well, I think does it come out next Thursday, or is it this Thursday?
This Thursday, so there'll be some more games to leak tomorrow.
Yep, and so next week we'll have a little bit more talk there with that, and then we'll recap the PGA, and the playoffs will be. We had that on our rundown. We didn't get to the NFL, NBA, and NHL playoffs.
That's fine.
Just 1 second here on that. Do you think LeBron is done?
No, I think he plays. I think he plays 2 to 3 more years.
Okay, so you don't even think it's close. Yeah, you still think
not yet? No, not yet.
Okay.
He was a top 10 player in the playoffs still.
Well,
he can't be for 80 plus games in the regular season, but he can be a third or fourth option in the regular season. I think in the playoffs he can turn it on, but I think he plays another year for sure, and I wouldn't be surprised if it's 2 more. But it all depends on where, because I don't fully understand all this, but all the talk shows I listen to, mostly for football, they do talk a lot of NBA, and you've got these different aprons and the salary and all this type of stuff. So that's out of my wheelhouse, but I think he plays for a couple more years.
Okay, that was my question, because I know there were some people talking. He played on Amazon Prime, and the end of his career, it wasn't even on like NBC or ESPN or anything. It was on streaming Amazon Prime.
Yeah, I don't think he's going out that way just yet. No, I think he plays another year or two. I think it's either Lakers, Cavs, Knicks, or maybe Denver.
Okay.
I think those are kind of the 4 options. If the Knicks don't win the title this year, he could go be the missing piece. But
they look pretty good right now.
Yeah, and Cleveland, of course, go back home for one last run type of deal. Lakers, he's already there. Yep. Denver would be a little bit weird, but Denver needs someone like him right now. I don't know. I'm not a big NBA expert, but I do think he plays at least 1 more year, maybe 2 or 3 more potentially.
Okay. All right. Thanks, Trev. We'll talk next week, and obviously we'll talk throughout the weekend for the PGA Championship. But talk to you next week on here.
All right. Have a good one.